Do you think the rules are different after 50 when it comes to dating? That's one of the things I think about, and a lot of women think about that. Oh, I'm at such and such age, it's too late for me, or it's not going to happen for me.
I've been coaching women for 13, 14 years now, and whatever age they are, they believe that they're at the wrong age to meet somebody. What you've got to consider is what gets in our way. We know that our subconscious will work tirelessly to give us evidence to support our beliefs. So if we're saying there are no good men out there, there's no men that are interested in commitment anymore, then our subconscious will go and look for all the evidence it can find to show us that. Changing those beliefs, it's going through that process of starting to open up to men that you wouldn't normally be attracted to. It's the fastest way to your happy ever after.
Are there mistakes that you see your clients doing, like the biggest mistakes in dating?
What you want to do from the very start, or if you're dating now or you're in a relationship now, is just
I'm Sarah Kugelman, and welcome to Going Golden. I am so excited to have our guest, Michelle Manley, here today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She had a successful career in consulting, yet a history of unsuccessful relationships with men. Does this sound familiar to anybody? After a long corporate career spanning 25 years, she decided she wanted to be a relationship coach. Everyone thought she was a little bit nuts at that stage of her life to switch careers, but she had seen the positive effects of coaching on her career and how relationship coaching changed her love life as well. She went on to study with some of the top coaches in her field, including Rory Ray, and became an accredited and certified relationship coach. Today, she has a following of 265,000 followers on TikTok, and quoting Michelle, she says, "I love what I do. I believe in every one of my clients and their ability to achieve whatever they desire." I'm so excited to have Michelle here today on Going Golden to talk to us about dating after 50 and relationships. I think this is a subject that does not get much airtime, and yet there are more single women 50 plus today than ever before. According to a recent report from Wells Fargo Economics, about 30% of women 50 to 64 are single in the US, which means more women than ever before are dating at this age. So this is uncharted territory for many of us, and it's not the same as dating in your 20s. So today we are going to get into it with Michelle, and I'd love to welcome her. She is joining us from the UK. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining me on Going Golden. And I would love to start with having you tell me the story that you told me when we initially spoke about your experience of meeting the man of your dreams and getting married.
Well, I mean, talking about, sort of dating over 50, I hadn't lived with anybody until I was 50. And I thought I was a complete freak. I had never met anybody else that hadn't actually lived until they were 50. And so that was me. So absolutely, when you said, disaster in relation all the way through. And yeah, so I met my husband, Ray, when I was 50. Well, yeah, 50. In fact,
that's amazing.
We didn't start living together for at least, I can't remember now, a year, 18 months afterwards. So I was actually over 50. And we got married last year. And yeah.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you. So, yep.
And I say that because you're just beaming, like you're just so happy.
Yeah, it's good. It's not perfect, but it's good. Yes.
Nothing is perfect.
Yeah, nothing is perfect. And I have what I wanted, which was this rock in my life, this man who spends all his time trying to make me happy.
So I think that's really interesting, which is that it's never too late to find love. And I think that's one of the things I think about, and a lot of women think about, that, oh, I'm at such and such age, it's too late for me, or it's not going to happen for me. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I do. And I've been coaching women for 13, 14 years now. And I coach women from all ages. And whatever age they are, they believe that they're at the wrong age to meet somebody. That's the really interesting thing for me. So everybody coming to me in their 30s is like, it's so much easier when I was in my 20s, and now it's really difficult in my 30s. And then you get the women in their 40s telling me that, I wish I was 30 in my 30s because it would be so much easier. And so on. And it just goes on and on and on. And it is no different. Because you've just said how many single women there are. In the US, there's got to be the same number of men. Mathematics would suggest that there must be the same number of single men.
Well, you would think there is, but there's, at least in the US, there's less because, and I'm just talking about over 50, but men don't live as long.
Yeah.
There's a theory that men don't like to be alone, so they attach more quickly, where women are now feeling more independent and like they don't need a man. So there are a lot more women sort of, I guess, being a little bit more particular. But I do think there's something unique about dating after 50 because we're not necessarily looking to have children, get married. It's a little bit of a different situation. So what do you think about that? Is that what you hear from your clients?
It's interesting, this, because for me, I look at it individually. And it's about matching what you want with a man out there who wants the same things. Age is kind of immaterial in that sense. Does that make sense? That
does make a lot of sense.
So rather than thinking about it as being an age thing, think of it as you as an individual. What is it you want? And then it's about dating lots of guys, putting that out there until the guys show up that want the same thing as you. And there is no reason why there wouldn't be lots and lots of men that want the same thing as you.
I mean, I love that. But then I hear a lot of women say, but where are the good men? I can't meet anybody. I don't like online dating, or it's so depressing. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with all of that, and I felt like that myself, all up and down, all through my dating life. What you've got to consider is what gets in our way of meeting and seeing, actually noticing that man that would be perfect for us. And what gets in the way are our beliefs. And what gets in the way is our history and our baggage and our experiences. And if there is a part of you that doesn't believe you deserve this on some level, and that's often very deeply buried and not immediately obvious, that's just going to stop. That's just going to stop you seeing the men that are out there. And this is the work that I do, is helping women to look at their beliefs, because we know that our subconscious will work tirelessly to give us evidence to support our beliefs. So if we're saying there are no good men out there, there's no men that are interested in commitment anymore, then our subconscious will go and look for all the evidence it can find to show us that. That can be one of just simply that. Actually, really asking that question, is that true? That there are no good.
Right. Changing your mindset. Yeah. Right. Changing your mindset and having a different conversation with yourself.
Yeah. And so what you start to do is support that part of you that is often a very young part of you that is terrified and scared of getting hurt. And especially if you've had experiences of being hurt and repeating the same patterns, or, whatever's gone on, there's going to be that part of you in trauma, no matter how mild that trauma is or strong, that will be getting in the way. So it's supporting that part in actually changing those beliefs. It's going through that process of starting to open up to men that you wouldn't normally be attracted to. This can be one of the key things. We can tend to be attracted to the same old pattern.
I loved what you said in our first conversation, was that you might not have picked your husband when you first met him, but as things developed, you realized you were right for each other. And I would love you to talk a little bit more about that, because I think that happens a lot. You know, we think we're supposed to be with somebody, or somebody's our type, but it's not always like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the work I do in the beginning. What's the checklist? So my checklist was tall, financially successful, very charismatic, fun, I had this whole, a kind man, all these things. It had to, I had a lot of judgments about what job he would do, what his family life would be like. And it was turning all that on its head was key for me. And to start to think about, how did I want to feel with a man? And that was a real turning point for me. When I realised I wanted to feel loved and adored and cherished, and I wanted to feel safe, and I wanted to feel secure. And for me, I wanted consistency. That was the big thing that was lacking in past relationships. And once I started to look for that, everything had to change, because suddenly the guy that was showing up that perhaps wasn't making my heart flutter, and I didn't really fancy him, but he was okay, or he seemed a bit nice, or a bit...
Right, nice.
Yes, nice.
Just has a negative connotation to it.
He's too nice, that one. When I opened up to the idea that actually the guys that were turning me on before, when I was dating and meeting and never getting anywhere with them, I was attracted to that disappointment. It was very, very familiar. That was my type. So I started to date guys that at first I thought, they're just not my type. They're a bit boring. They're very nice, but they're a bit boring. And I started to get turned on by being cherished and adored. And I realised that there was part of me that just was really struggling receiving from a man and letting a man love me, letting a man adore me. It just felt so uncomfortable. So I was pushing those guys away.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense when you say it, but it's so hard when it's yourself. You're so stuck on that checklist that almost you don't recognize the amazing man or partner when they land in front of you.
Yeah. So the key is that you date lots of guys and you keep your options open. You don't go exclusive.
Yes, talk about not going exclusive.
Because it's the one thing none of us want to do. It goes against everything, that all our uncomfortableness, as well as what society tells us. We're a player if we date lots of guys. And exclusivity is our biggest enemy. It really is. Because when we go exclusive with a guy, what we're saying is, I'm all in. And what tends to happen is we meet a guy on a first date and he seems fabulous and we're really turned on by him, and we feel like we've known him for years. All of these are huge red flags at this point, because we could be meeting the same old outcome. And we go exclusive, and all we're doing is cutting off all other options and moving into hope. Because we don't know this man. We don't know a thing about him, but we think we do.
You feel like you know somebody, but it really takes a long time to get to know somebody.
Yeah. And again, you're being attracted to that same old, charismatic guy who says all the right things, but you don't know until you see what he does. So you date and you're honest with men about it. It's the fastest way to happy ever after.
And you talk a lot in your philosophy and teaching about feminine energy. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that?
So this was the moment when everything changed for me, because I you said I've been in the corporate world for years, and I was very much a go-getter, and I was very much, as I learned, in my masculine energy. So masculine energy being that energy of doing and thinking and action and leading. And I learned then that there was this other energy, feminine energy, which was completely the polar opposite of masculine energy, which is the being and emotions and feelings and gut and instinct. And all these things that I was very aware of, but didn't know why that would be important in relationship. And it was at that moment, so it was Rory Ray. I read an article by Rory Ray, and she was talking about this tool about imagining being in a rowing boat with your man, and the rowing boat is your relationship. Who's rowing? And I was like, well, me. Always been rowing. And then she's saying, well, what's he doing? And I'm like, he's just lying there. And how are you feeling? I'm feeling really exhausted and frustrated and resentful. And it's when I realised that I needed to put the oars down. And that's when everything changed. And that's what allowed that masculine energy man to step in, pick up those oars and start rowing for me. And that was that whole thing of receiving, letting a man take the lead.
That's such a beautiful metaphor and way to think about this. I want to also just point out, we are talking about male-female relationships, but, I'm wondering if a lot of the philosophy and what you're thinking about also applies to, single sex or gay relationships.
I've worked with same-sex couples, trans, and this polarity exists everywhere. So it's the fact that we need the light to know what dark is like. You need both, and it's the same within us. We all have that masculine doing energy and that feminine feeling, emotional energy. We have to have it. And in relationship, it works best when they're both present. And having worked with same-sex couples as well, that's the feedback. The conflict is where one is or both are in the same energy.
That makes a lot of sense, because there's always sort of like give and take.
So it's not gender specific. It's just the energy.
I love that. I think that's so right. And really getting to know yourself and what you really need as a person in a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know when we first spoke, I said to you, because I turned 60 last year, so 60 was on the brain. And I said to you, is it possible to fall in love after 60?
And what do you think now?
I think it's absolutely possible. But I think, we do get stuck in our head with numbers, and it limits us, and I think it holds us back, which is the whole reason I'm obviously doing this. But I think there are a lot of things that we're now doing in the second half of our life that used to be either unacceptable or out of bounds or not culturally relevant. And so I think we're retraining ourselves and learning over again what it means to be a certain age, and that there aren't necessarily boundaries or limits. Like, we're living and we're experiencing life, and we want to live and enjoy our life. And how better to enjoy our life than to be in a partnership or in a loving relationship that makes us feel really good.
And you've hit the nail on the head. It's about the feelings. It's about feeling good and what is going to make you feel good. And that's up to each woman about, that safety, that security, that adoration, that cherishing, that loving. And it's incredible looking at you, at 60, I'm 58, it's around the corner. And it's, when I think about my grandparents being 60 and celebrating their 60th, they were
funny?
Old people.
They were old. Yes. My grandparents were retired and living in a retirement community.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh.
And there was no way they were thinking the way that we think now. So we're pioneers in that sense.
Yes, completely. I think that's right. We are pioneers, and we're forging new ground in all of these conversations and thoughts and actions. And I find that really exciting and interesting.
And I think that, again, we use age, we use where we live, location sometimes, as that staying safe, putting resistance up and barriers to meeting somebody.
Yes. I mean, I think too, one thing I'll say at this age is, sometimes we really get stuck in patterns. And at this point in our life, we can be pretty stuck in a pattern. So how do you break those patterns? I mean, do you recommend to some of your clients that they have therapy, go into therapy when they want to meet somebody to break some of these patterns? What's your advice?
Anything that feels good. The one thing I do believe in is coaching. And the reason why I was in therapy for many years. So I know I've done many of the self-help stuff that's out there. And the thing now about therapy is that you don't need to go back and rake up the past, which I think is good. I think in certain circumstances, it absolutely works. However, when in coaching, you can challenge those patterns in the moment. And one of the best ways of doing that is with a man in front of you. Rory Ray talks about this. It's free therapy. Dating is free therapy, because what you're doing is you're putting a man in front of you and you're getting triggered. And it's about how you and what you do with that. What tools do you learn to handle those situations, to handle those strong emotions, those patterns, becoming self-aware of your own behaviour around this stuff. So I think this, again, is another positive for dating lots of guys, because you're going to get triggered. And triggering is the best thing that can possibly happen to you, because it's information. Oh my gosh, he's just done that. And I've just had all these thoughts and it's making me behave in this way. That's an old pattern. That's recognised. So what is open to me to do differently? What awareness?
So being aware of our patterns and therefore trying to change them as we see them happening.
And if therapy feels great, do that, whatever helps. But the one thing I'm not a great believer in, and I used to believe this, is going away and healing separately on your own. So I can remember, this mantra. I don't know whether you're familiar with this, Sarah. If you get divorced, you shouldn't possibly start dating for at least 2 years.
Oh,
the
yes.
2-year rule.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, who made that rule?
I don't know. and actually, I agree that the one thing you don't want to do is dive into another relationship straight away. But it's that dating process. It's that meeting different men.
Yeah, it's like trying different foods. I mean, you really have to figure out what it is that you like and makes you happy.
Yeah.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's going into that cake shop with all those beautiful cakes and not just going for the carrot cake that you always go for. It's about actually having a taste of every one of the cakes, and you might be very surprised. And that's, for me, what dating all these guys is about. So that's the best. And having some support there are, therapists, coaches who specialize in this. And I think this is really important. If you strain a muscle in your leg, you can go to a physiotherapist, and he will give you the tools and the exercises to heal that. Who knows that there's these specialist people out there who are trained and know about dating and relationships that can just make the whole thing so much easier.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And, you reminded me when I was much younger, in my 20s and my 30s, my friends and I used to have this saying, we used to say that all the men in New York didn't want to settle down because if they could have a chocolate chip cookie on Monday and a vanilla cookie on Tuesday and a cinnamon cookie on Wednesday, why would they have a chocolate chip cookie every single day of the week? But I think to your point, I mean, it's about tasting all of these different cookies and cakes and figuring out which ones you really do want to have every single day.
And it's challenging that belief that that's what all men are doing, that they all want different cookies every day, because they don't. Some do.
They don't.
Some do.
Yeah.
But there's another. But what we tend to do is focus on the evidence that supports our belief. So all we talk about with our girlfriends is the disastrous dates we've had. We love telling them about our other friends' horror story with dating, and it just feeds that, yes, we're right. There are no good men out there.
Right. Like perpetuating this mystery or this bad story. Are there mistakes that you see your clients doing? Like typically a mistake more than other, or like the biggest mistakes in dating?
Yeah, I think if a woman wants a man to take the lead in the relationship, then she has to stop taking the lead. And that's the biggest shift. If a woman loves taking the lead and organising dates and being that planner, the romantic, instigator in the relationship, great. It's perfect for her. But if she wants a man to do it, she has to stop. So what tends to happen is we are in that initiating mode all the time. And many of us suffer from anxiety, and anxiety drives us to take action. So if a man's not called, you've had a date and he's not called for a couple of days, the anxiety can build up, and then you start reaching out to him. And it's that leaning in energy that unfortunately pushes a man back into his feminine energy. He's not gonna fight you for the oars.
Right. And what do you say to the women who say, oh, but if I don't reach out to him, he's never going to call, or he's so busy, he's not going to think about it?
Then he's not your guy. Do you want a guy that's too busy for you? Maybe it's just not the right time for him. And this is again why it's so important not to get invested with guys, emotionally invested with guys early on, because of course then we've put all our eggs in one basket, and then the anxiety builds up. What you want to do from the very start, or if you're dating now or you're in a relationship now, is just lean back now. Give him space to pick those oars up.
Yeah. And do you think the rules are different after 50 when it comes to dating?
What sort of rules? What do you mean?
Like, always let the man call you, don't call him, or don't talk about the relationship too soon, or, a lot of these sort of old myths about what you should do or not do when it comes to dating.
No, I don't think it's any different. I don't think it's any age specific. I think this is the polar opposites. Like, this is the energy difference. I think that this is about you being true to yourself about what you want, not being driven by what you think you want. I can remember being hugely uncomfortable about saying I wanted to be married and I wanted to be a mother. And so I would be the cool girl when I met a guy, and, I'd do those rules, don't want to frighten him off by, and
right.
No, you want to say, when a guy says what you're looking for, you say, I want to be a wife and I want to be a mother. You're not saying to him, I want it with you. You're saying, that's what I want. And then he can, if that's what he wants, he's gonna pursue that. If it isn't, he's gone, and that's good.
That's such a good point. You have to say what you want, otherwise you don't get what you want.
Yeah. And I don't believe in strategy, and I don't believe in games. I believe in just getting clear on what you want, but letting a man take the lead. But it's one of the things we're not very good at, many of us women, is really understanding that men are sensitive. Most men are way more sensitive than we are. And they need some guidance on what's going to make us happy. They need information. And I used to sit there and think, he should know what I would like. I mean, now it kind of makes me go, oh, God, I can't believe I really thought that. But he should know.
Yeah.
He should, and I'd test them. I'd want them to, do this incredible acrobatics for me. And actually, as soon as I stopped doing that and kind of went, said, what would you like to do? Instead of me thinking, well, he should know I would want to go for cocktails, followed by an Italian meal, followed by dancing, I'd say, oh, I love cocktails and Italian's my favourite. What do you think? You're giving him the information he needs to make you happy.
That's so true. That's so true. And what do you think men are looking for?
It depends. Some men want commitment. Some men just want casual. Some men want kids. Some men don't want kids. I think one of the dangers we have is grouping all men together, and they stop having individual identities. And then we end up saying things like, all men are whatever, all men are this. Men just want to be loved and to love. How they want to do that may, work for you or not work for you. There's very few bad men out there, but they may have their own baggage, their own trauma, their own experiences that makes them behave in a way that's not very good. But if we shone the light on ourselves as women, we don't often behave very well either. And it's because of our experiences, our own trauma, our own protection.
Yeah. No, I love your viewpoint and philosophy on that men are not the enemy and that there are a lot of great men out there. Maybe just misunderstood.
Yeah. And they are struggling, I think, men out there. They don't know, on a simple term, but they don't know whether to open the door or not open the door for us. They don't know whether they're going to offend or do the right thing. They're really confused at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. I've had a really nice little woman the other day was saying she'd met this guy and he'd said, what would you like to do, on our date? And she said, well, I'd like to, whatever you would like, it'd be nice. What would you like to do? And he literally turned around and went, well, I'm allowed to choose. And he meant it. Now, he's an extreme, but he was literally felt like he'd never been given that opportunity to suggest something that she would say, yeah, okay, let's try it.
Yeah, so I think it's being open, and I think it all gets back to communication too. Communication is a really important thing at all stages of getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
And I think at any age too, we're not great at saying this is what I want or this is how I feel. We feel like, oh, we shouldn't say that, or that's not going to work, or that person's not going to receive that well, instead of just sort of realizing that the right person is going to receive that or accept that or respond the way we want.
Yeah. You can't do the wrong thing with the right man.
I love that.
And you can't do the right thing with the wrong man.
Isn't that the truth? Yes.
Yeah.
There's one other thing I wanted to say, because I see this a lot, and I think it is really sort of this age that we're living through, because there are some women now that are financially independent and have successful careers and don't need a man. They want a man, but are very successful in their career and not very successful in their relationships, which is what you experienced too. And is that, you think, because these women are not leaning into their feminine energy? Like, what is the reason for that?
Well, it's like anything. I don't think there's one particular reason, but yes, most as coaches we tend to connect with women who have a similar history to ourselves, and many of my clients are in exactly the same boat as I was. Looking back on my life, I think my career was easier to handle. So I was getting results in that way. So it became easier to progress in my career and absorb my energy into my career, that longing into my career. And I think it was part of keeping myself safe.
Like maybe you have more control over what you're doing in your career than what you're doing in your relationship.
Because every time I'd start a relationship and have real hope for it and be excited, and then to get hurt over and over again, disappointed, and not understand why. Why would you keep going there? It's easier to get busy with your career. So that was definitely an element for me. And if you've got a natural comfort around your career and doing that, you're going to prioritize that. And that's one of the things is, I'm too busy to meet again. Now, whether that's your family, because that can be another easily absorbing part of your life that I haven't got time, and it's all to protect ourselves, understandably.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, we've focused a lot today on dating. I'm going to have to have you come back another time to talk about relationships, because there's also a lot of women and men out there that probably have been in long-term relationships and have a vastly different array of questions.
Certainly, yeah. And often around this whole, he doesn't step up. He's not romantic. He's not, I'm the one that's picking up the slack. And it's about stopping that, but doing it in a way that doesn't punish him, or is creating that warm space.
Yeah.
For him to pick those oars up. It's like, he's like, oh God, yeah, I can pick those oars up, rather than that, oh, what's going on now? She's put those oars down. She looks really angry. Dare I go and pick them up? It's creating that kind of thing where, that space for him that he's really empowered to step into his natural masculine energy.
Yeah, people get really stuck in patterns.
Yeah, and I think last point on this masculine energy, we think because we get exhausted and frustrated and resentful from doing everything, we assume men do. They don't. They grow stronger and happier when they are in their masculine energy and doing that stuff. Not all of them, but most of them. Yeah.
That's so interesting. And do you find with your clients that most who come to you are looking to meet somebody, or are in relationships looking to work at issues?
Both.
Or just sort of equal
combination
of both?
The thing, people find me on TikTok, they hear me talk about feminine energy, it resonates. It's the women that it resonates with. That's the common theme. Look, I think, it's me being in a masculine energy that is wearing me out and not working in the relationship. How can I shift that?
So Michelle, I want to also, I would love, just from a business perspective, since I am an entrepreneur, I'd love to ask you how you, what were some of the key things in building your business and how you built such an amazing TikTok following?
Oh, thank you. From a feminine energy.
I love that.
For me in business, because you need your masculine energy in business. In relationship, you don't need your masculine energy. You're just in that feminine energy receiving mode. When you're running your own business, you've got to have masculine energy. It's the masculine energy that gets you up in the morning, that does the planning and the strategy and organises it all. But for me, it's about where it comes from. So when this whole masculine and feminine energy thing came about, people talked about swapping hats. I need to be pop my feminine energy hat in my relationship, pop my masculine energy hat on when I'm in business. And I don't prescribe to that now. I think it all comes from feminine energy. So the difference would be, in the past, from my masculine energy, I'd be I'd be striving to, I'd be full of shoulds, musts. This is what everybody else is doing. This is the right way of doing it. It's that effort. Whereas when I I'm in my business from my feminine energy, it all comes from desire. And as soon as I say that, my whole body softens. It's what I want to do. So I want to build my business. I want to attract clients. That comes from a totally different, our behavior from that is totally different than a need to get more clients.
Yeah, there's a real difference there.
And it's the same thing, we're running down the street chasing clients where, it would be just amazing to work with some clients, that whole energy, creating that warm space for them to step into. So when it comes from my desire, it works beautifully. That's when I'm in flow. That can help a lot of women in their business when it comes from. And for TikTok, I can remember hearing all this stuff about what you have to do on TikTok and who you have to be. And I just one day I just thought, I'm just going to do but just say a few things on a couple of videos. And it went well. And I have lots of people saying to me, people don't like how slow I am. I have women saying to me, I wish you'd stop swallowing. I wish you'd, different things. And it's really interesting. But the slowness. So I'll have one woman saying, oh, your videos, they just really calm me down. I just feel, you're just so soothing. And then I'll have the next comment. I'll say, for the love of God, please speed it up. So I just...
Wow, people are so opinionated.
My audience, very little, I have to say. They're just wonderful, which is so nice. But you do, and I will go back and say, oh, I'm so sorry, that's who I am. And they come back and say, no, I know. They're not... They're not being obnoxious with me about it. It's just where they're at.
Critical. They're just...
Yeah, and I say, well, you can speed it up if you wish, But they're all lovely, but I just do it my way. And fortunately for me, it's resonated with people, but there was no point in me. And if I ever try and use a bit of strategy that I've maybe read somewhere about, it never works.
It's so interesting you say that, because when I found your TikTok, I just found you to be so authentic and genuine and lovely and sweet. And so it made me want to stay and listen and, sort of take mental notes. And so I think that is really your talent.
Oh, thank you. And there's lots of people out there that resonate with other people. It's about finding who resonates.
Do you work with clients in the US?
Yeah, most of my clients are from the US and Canada.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then it's Europe, and then further afield.
So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me in TikTok, which is Michelle Manley Coaching. My website is michellemanleycoaching.com. And come and talk to me.
Great. Well, I would definitely recommend that everybody at least take a stop at your TikTok and listen to your sage words of wisdom. And I want to thank you so much for being our guest today. This has been such a amazing and interesting conversation, and I look forward to chatting more in the future.
Thank you so much. And thank you for just such lovely questions and being so welcoming. Thank you so much. You've made it very easy for me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Just fun having a chat with a girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
That is it for our podcast today with Michelle Manley on Going Golden.